Well, good morning. Welcome to the meeting of February 14th, and this Board of Commissioners meeting is officially called to order. And I'd like to have Reverend James Gwynn, the senior pastor for the Ackworth United Methodist Church, if you'd please lead us in the invocation today.
Let us pray. God of us all, thank you. We thank you for Cobb County, for the community in which we live. We thank you for those that are gathered here, those that are here to speak, those who are here to present, those who are here simply to discern. Lord, we thank you for the commissioners who serve, for their families, for their well-being, that each of them together would be stronger. And we invite your presence on this meeting. Lord, the governing of the people, by the people, and for the people is complex. And simply we ask for you to be here. May those who speak do so clearly. May those who disagree do so respectfully. May those who decide do so wisely. Our ultimate goal is to strengthen this county and community both today and into the future. And God, we ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. And the Pledge of Allegiance be led by firefighter Billy Watkins. He's been with us since 2010. He's a member of Station 24. So firefighter Watkins.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I want to thank Pastor Gwen for that invocation, and as always, firefighter Watkins and the member of our terrific public safety force here with Station 24. So that will go to tab 2. And we'll have Transportation Agency Jim Wilgus lead us and director to conduct a public hearing. Mr. Wilgus? Oops, I'm sorry. I skipped a tab already. Yes, sorry about that. Okay, Mr. Hankerson, I believe is here to present and Director Heaton to present a check to the Make-A-Wish Georgia Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're going to ask Tim Early, CEO, Lindsay Pearson, and Jaylee Welch to come forward from the Make-A-Wish. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I tell you, this is always a great day, and it's another way that our county continue to give back to the community. I believe this is our 16th year for Make-A-Wish. I think we have raised a grand total of $513,144.07 to be exact. This year, with what we're about to present to you, this will, I believe, grant 4 wishes. Those wishes keeps going up, but that's what it costs to make sure. But we're very proud no matter what they cost. But I want to say thank you. It is a great event, and for what we do and the participation. It keeps growing even during the downtowns in the economy. We had a lot of community participation in the giving back. So our police department, our public safety has been involved with this. I'm going to ask Director Heaton to talk a little bit about it and turn it over to you to say a few words, and then we'll do our presentation.
Thank you, County Manager. I will say that I have been fortunate enough to participate. Hopefully my knees will continue to, but what's more important is to see the kids and the kids' faces when we're able to present some of these wishes. So just want to say thank you so much. I know Chief Hauser is the one that's usually up here, and for so many years he has led this, and we're going to have big shoes to fill next year to get someone to lead that as he has. But with that, we'd like to present you a check for $41,000. And if you would like to say a few words.
Yeah, just to say thank you to everyone in Cobb County for your continued support of Make-A-Wish Georgia. As a small local nonprofit, we rely a lot, not just on the funds, but on the support of the community to create awareness for ourselves and our children. And with this event and everything that Cobb County does, just to see all those people out there and supporting and putting on this event, it does so much for us. And we continue to grant more wishes for more children right here in Cobb County. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Let me say, and are y'all still Georgia and Alabama combined? Just Georgia now. At one time, I believe we granted the most wishes of any government or entity, and I imagine that still holds true. That says a lot about our employees, so we want to thank you for that. But I know you're waiting to get the real check. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Is any of that subject to county tax? Just asking. Our next presentation will be Mr. Hankerson again and Kristen Loman to present the fourth quarter Customer Service Excellence Awards. And I'd like to have all the commissioners join me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's always an honor. Each quarter, we recognize a number of our employees for their excellent customer service. And I tell you, it makes us proud because we in government, all we have to offer is service. But when I go around with the members of the Customer Service Council to present that certificate or nomination or make them aware, we get different reactions. All good, because they're surprised. They have no clue. Because many of them are in fake meetings to make sure they're where they're supposed to be when I arrive, and they can't wait to get out of there. But then they realize what's happening. But they're so proud and appreciative that someone recognized what they're doing, expecting nothing in return. And when we do that, we present them a gift certificate for the quarterly winners. We also display a photo in the service centers of the quarterly winners. They are also posted on the web site, and so we can share with the public why we're so proud of those individuals. That also makes them eligible to compete for the Customer Specialist of the Year. You can't be a Customer Specialist of the Year without being a quarterly winner. So we always look forward to that, to say thank you for what you do. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kristen so she can tell us why we're so proud of our employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hankerson. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and special guests. On behalf of the Customer Service Council, it is a great honor to present the 2016 fourth quarter winners of the Cobb County Customer Service Excellence Award. Today, we will recognize 3 employees. Each of these employees was nominated by their coworkers for consistently going above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to providing customer service excellence. Honorees, please come forward when I call your name. Our first award recipient is Venu Chandran. Venu is a programmer analyst for the Tax Assessor's Office and Tax Commissioner's offices. His peers believe that Venu makes the impossible possible by thinking outside the box and developing custom applications for GIS, even though it is outside of his day-to-day work assignment. Venu is always eager to assist others. He has graciously taken on additional responsibilities while the team was understaffed, and continually works to improve and streamline the homestead application and its process. His efforts cut the application process time in half. Thank you, Venu, for your focus on customer service and the needs of the county. It is through your efforts that our residents and business owners can expect the best. Christy McClure works in the Tax Assessor's Office and is our next honoree. Whether she is attending training at the Department of Revenue or interacting with the public, Christy is always on the lookout for ways she can better assist Cobb's taxpayers. Because of this focus, Christy has received many emails praising her efforts. One taxpayer wrote, "I appreciate how you treated me through this process. And another said, I appreciated her checking with me to make sure I got our application in on time and to confirm that I only wanted to apply for exemption for one of our properties, and she made this a pleasant experience. Thank you for your customer service focus. Last but by no means least is Rennie Sharpman. Rennie is an assistant for our library system. Rennie's can-do attitude is why she is receiving this award today, whether she is taking on extra tasks to fill in when coworkers are out so that patrons won't be affected by a program being canceled, unclogging toilets, or going the extra mile to find an author of a book with only the name of the book's main character. Customer service is always in the forefront of Rennie's mind. Thank you, Rennie. We are proud to call you a Cobb County employee. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our 2016 Fourth Quarter Customer Service Award winners.
We have many staff and family members and co-workers in attendance to support our award. Would you please stand and be recognized? That says a lot about the team and the support you've got back in the workplace and at home, and that's what it takes, and we want to thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them one big round of applause.
Well, that was a special start to a special day. I just want to comment that this is just a reflection of the kind of caliber of county staff that we have here that take care of everyone in this county. And I know every one of us up here is pleased beyond words that they were recognized for all they do for this county. It's a terrific staff, and I speak highly of them every day, and I'm sure all of you have some way or another have an experience to see what the terrific, passionate, and loyal staff we have to serve all of you. So this is a great start for today. Moving on to tab 2, Mr. Wilgus will conduct a public hearing.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. County Manager. Our item is to conduct a public hearing prior to expending $100,000 or more to perform engineering design service for various projects in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. In the implementation of the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program, the department anticipates awarding engineering design contracts that could exceed $100,000 for various projects. We request the Board of Commissioners conduct a public hearing prior to expending $100,000 or more to perform engineering design services for various projects in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program.
Are there any speakers this morning to address this topic? Seeing none, I now declare this public hearing closed.
Thank you, sir.
All right, tab 3. And Mr. Johnson will now conduct a public hearing on Community Development Agency issues. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This agenda item is to conduct a public hearing for approval or consideration of a Chattahoochee Corridor Plan certificate for the construction of a single-family home at 3991 Paces Ferry Drive. As a bit of background, the Chattahoochee Corridor Plan certificate is a requirement of the Metropolitan River Protection Act of 1973, It was Georgia General Assembly Act number 66 of that particular year. Basically, prior to any land disturbance activity happening within the Chattahoochee Corridor Plan area, a review is needed to be taken by the Atlanta Regional Commission for compliance with the act. After the Atlanta Regional Commission has reviewed the particular proposal, then the Board of Commissioners must conduct a public hearing and consider adopting or approving the certificate for that particular land disturbing activity. In this particular case, we did receive a number of suggestions from the U.S. Department of Interior, the National Park Service, and they are as follows in regard to this particular case. The National Park Service has asked that they request that all the equipment be washed after use so that we do not bring invasive species into the area. And as they are considering landscaping, they are recommending or asking that they consider native species of grasses and plants in order to improve our biodiversity in the area. In addition, they're recommending that that native vegetation be allowed to grow back within 98 feet of the riverbank in order to help stabilize the banks and to continue to help in filtering our water as it goes back into the natural environment, into the Chattahoochee River. And lastly, they're asking for the proper installation and continued maintenance and repair of all of the BMPs, which are required for erosion control during the process of construction, which is part of our normal processes anyways, sir. So with that, I would ask you to please open up a public hearing in regard to the issuance of this certificate, and at the conclusion of the hearing, if you would consider appropriate actions on this certificate, sir.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing is now open. Are there any speakers who wish to address this item? Are there any speakers who wish to address this issue? Seeing none, I now close this public hearing. Commissioner Ott, I believe you have some comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is Mr. Panos here? Do you understand all the conditions that Mr. Johnson has addressed? Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the Chattahoochee Corridor Plan Certificate of Compliance with all the stipulations and conditions required by National Park Service and the Atlanta Regional Commission.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Question passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, tab 5. I'm sorry, tab 4. Ms. Stantz, do we have any speakers this morning?
Yes, you do.
How many?
We have 6 for
Six.
the first part and 1 for the last part.
Okay. Do we want to combine the two parts and just have all 7 speak at the first part? Is that fine with everybody on the board? So let's have all 7 speakers. I'll have you call them up and remind them they're all allotted 5 minutes to speak on their issue.
Okay, the first speaker is Stephen Gaynor.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, Mr. County Manager. My name is Stephen Gaynor. I'm the President of Georgia Fraternal Order of Police in Cobb County Lodge 13. I come before you this morning to thank you for your willingness to work with the rank and file within the police department to make things happen and change happen. The Cobb County way needs to change, and we need to move on to the Mike Boyce way and begin things moving at a quicker pace. In that, I appreciate that you're going to address the pay study today, although we're not happy with the results given the little amount of money that's going to be given to public safety. We're happy that we're making a move forward after 3 years, and so I thank you for that. And the last thing I want to address is nepotism has been holding. It's a simple policy change. It has been holding for 4 months. We have several officers that have just been held out there in limbo, waiting for a decision to be made on this simple change. The rest of the nation has addressed nepotism and found it to be no issue, including the city of Marietta, which is much smaller than we are. And I would ask that movement be made on this policy change and that it be adopted. We gave you, our attorney researched and developed the policy, gave you the policy as a combined policy based on surrounding agencies. So I would hope that you would be able to review it and adopt that policy or make slight changes, and we move forward. We have a number of members, a number of folks within the police and fire department who are committed but not officially married, and they would like to officially be married. They have families, they have houses, they have mortgages, but they have no marriage certificate from the state of Georgia because this county will not allow it. So I appreciate everything that you all are doing and will continue to work with you and hopefully make this county the best that it's ever been in the future. And thank you, Chairman Boyce, for your time.
Steve, good morning. Just hold on a second. Just a couple things. On your
Yes, sir.
first point, we'll address that later on in one of the tabs, okay?
Yes, sir.
And on the second point, we decided to hold a nepotism agenda item till the next meeting. What we didn't want to do is talk about it one day and then vote on it the next day. We want to have time for it to breathe, to make sure all the commissioners had a chance to look at it. Have any proposed changes, we'll have the month of January to February to do that. But we are going to bring it as an agenda item at the end of the month. It was a matter of procedural and to make sure that all the commissioners are engaged on this issue and they understood what they were voting on 2 weeks from today.
Excellent. I appreciate everything y'all are doing.
Sure,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming up.
The next speaker is Roberta Cook.
The cup got bigger. Good morning, Chairman Boyce and Commissioners. My name is Roberta Cook. I live in Mableton, Georgia. I'm active in a citizen group called the Cobb Parks Coalition. Our website is cobbparkscoalition.org. We are citizens from every Cobb County district who have united to support the $40 million Cobb County Park Bond funding. A referendum to buy new parkland in Cobb County approved by the voters via the ballot box in November 2008. It has been 9 years since we voted for the park bond, and we are still waiting for the money. This month, the Cobb Parks Coalition initiated a Fill the Cup campaign. So here's one of them. There's a few others in the audience. This is in support of the park bond. And I brought a paper visual aid to convey the message. You can see on the screen. This is a picture of a measuring cup. The title over the cup reads, "The 2008 Voter-Approved Park Bond Referendum. $40 million, the top of the cup." I'm quite certain people think that their votes count. And when the park bond passed, it would simply be implemented. How novel. Isn't that a reasonable expectation? But what happened is Cobb County swept the park bond under the rug with diversions, including the poor economy. And when the economy improved, the park bond tax allocation was diverted to the Braves Stadium. This year, I'm happy to report the tide is turning. We have new board leadership, and you'll notice there's something in the cup. In January last month, our commissioners approved $24.7 million for the park bond. You can see that appropriately colored in green in the cup. The problem is we voted for $40 million. We are short $15.3 million. That's the red number in the cup, with an arrow pointing to the directive, fill up the cup. Chairman Boyce and commissioners, please tell the Cobb County voters how you will secure the $40 million needed to satisfy the voter mandated parkland acquisition program. In closing, I'd like to address the audience. I urge fellow Cobb County voters to stand up for your $40 million park bond vote. Join our Fill the Cup campaign by writing the commissioners. Using the pre-formatted, easy-to-use template at our website, cobbparkscoalition.org. Fill the cup. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
The next speaker is Cynthia Patterson.
Good morning, Commissioners and Chairman Boyce. My name is Cynthia Patterson, and I live in District 2. Have we lost another prime property to development? 88 acres on Burnt Hickory Road is moving through the zoning process to be developed. This wooded property was on the list published by the Marietta Daily Journal in November 2016. Why are we about to lose another prime property due to the Board of Commissioners' delayed action on fully funding Park Bond 2008? 92 high-end homes are planned. Who benefits? A few families who can afford these homes, and the developers who will scalp this land. These 88 acres might have been protected for all Cobb residents, regardless of income. Look at all the neighborhoods within walking distance. Harrison High School and Due West Elementary School are less than a mile away. Cobb has 6% of land preserved as parks or green space. In 2000, Cobb County partnered with the Georgia Green Space Program to preserve 20% of county land, which leaves us with a shortfall of 30,000 acres. According to the 2030 Comprehensive Plan, Cobb needs to purchase at least 1,500 acres before 2030. The $40 million Park Bond 2008 would save about 350 acres. This is the likely fate of the 88 acres on Burnt Hickory Road. If the commissioners are serious about meeting the county's goals to protect green space, you must get serious about funding green space. If the board had issued the full $40 million bond, instead of diverting the funds to the Braves Stadium, maybe the 88 acres would have been a park benefiting all citizens. This is what we could have had. Fill the cup. Thank you.
The next speaker is David Birkenbein.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. I'm David Birkenbein. I've been fighting for the medical burn ban. All we're asking for is 1,000 foot. The earliest survey I could find online for the National Fire Incident Report in 2006 from Mapleton, there were 207 fires, and most of them were unauthorized outside burning. I talked about the fog outside. you have fire departments around, and you have this fog, even during the day. People burn when it's cloudy. People burn after it rains. People burn when the wind is blowing 10 miles an hour. So we're still going to get the smoke. It just doesn't make sense why we can't respect the life. And at one time, this was personal, still is personal, but we've got to stop this insanity. The fire marshal, they dictate. They don't talk to you. You can't talk to them. You can't talk to the fire chief. It's either this way or no way. It's interpretation. How he interprets it isn't the way I interpret it. How you interpret it isn't the way I interpret it. So if the board can make the interpretation rule, even though the language is plain in the fire restriction and how it's burning, to where the fire marshal could put it out if he choose to, doesn't matter. I think they go around and promote these fire pits, because my two neighbors come up with fire pits when I started raising cane 2 years ago. And like I said, the fire department come out, you go through the deal, and then you get to talking to Mr. Mintz, and I get a big line, well, I'm checking with legal to see if we can legally put these fires out. It's stated right in your restrictions. If it affects somebody with a medical condition, we can put it out. Oh, no, we can't. It's legal. These pits are legal. That's crazy. All they're asking for is 1,000 foot. So what do? They end up putting it in the medical burn ban application, warning the people that, hey, you can have your medical burn ban, but it's always but this, but that. You were trying to make everybody happy. Mr. Hozak told me 2 years ago that there's no way Cobb County is going to have an open meeting on this. No way. It takes 2 commissioners to bring it for a public hearing. Mr. Tim Lee said, well, it's been a long time problem. We know this, but there's a delicate balance. Trust me, I know this delicate balance personally. Now, why we can't get together, and I can be involved. I mean, I haven't heard from nobody in 2 years why we can't fix this problem that's been ongoing for years and years. On a census, Cobb County now has 741,000 people, probably plus now. 2,200 and some people per square mile. And then you want to burn? Can you imagine how many people could burn in that? I have property out in Carrollton where I have a shop. I have little 2 acres out there to get away from the place. And there are 220 people per square mile, and you got to have a burning permit. There's not a lot in this county big enough that you can burn legally, but yet we keep growing, we keep having density, and we keep the same old rules of burning. You want people to come into Cobb County and older people and all this other stuff. Well, what are they going to do when people across the street are going to start burning from them? And it takes a lot of expense to keep your house with air conditioners and air cleaners, charcoal filters, anything to keep this smoke out so it doesn't irritate. And I mean, all we want is 1,000 foot. That's it. I mean, it's not asking a whole bunch. And I think the county ought to be able to change it. And I think we ought to be able to work with it. Because, like I said, the fire marshal said, y'all made the law. It's y'all's loophole. And he said, y'all are the only one that can fix it. Thank you very much.
David?
Yes.
Just want you to know that your case has made its way into my office.
Yes.
All right, so we are talking about it. We
Yes.
heard you last time. We will meet before the next meeting. We will contact you and we'll bring you in and we'll talk about what the issues are, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I want you to know that we hear you. But the process of bureaucracy sometimes moves slowly. But
I know.
But I want you to know that we have heard you. And we owe you a call before the next meeting. We'll come in and we'll talk about this, all right?
Okay.
We'll lay our cards on the tables where we are and see what we can do.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mike Haran.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, the board, and Mr. Hankerson. Thank you for the my name is Mike Haran. I live in off Bells Ferry Road in Chestnut Hill subdivision. Ms. Burrell, I'm in your jurisdiction. Can I give you all one of these? One for Mr. Hankerson too, please. I'm here this morning because I feel like this is something very important to me, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't. The reason why I'm here is my wife and I moved here about 4 years ago. I have a military background, and I've been pretty much all over the world and all over the states. And in my travels, and then finally winding up here, we live in Cobb County. We moved here. What I've noticed is that I see litter in areas in Cobb County that probably look as bad as just about anywhere I've traveled in the world. If you go through the handouts, the first presentation is, this is right outside of our subdivision. I and some volunteers clean that just about every Sunday, but we saw a dead animal there, and I reported it on the Cobb County website, and nothing was done for a couple weeks. So we got out, we took care of it, we cleaned it up and disposed of it. But these other pictures are along Bells Ferry Road, and it's always badly littered. The second handout is Shiloh Road at Bells Ferry intersection. And what's interesting about this is a couple years ago, they widened this intersection, they widened Shiloh Road, and they spent all this money on aesthetics, put a nice guardrail there, landscaping and all. But the litter along there now, it just negates all the thousands of dollars they spent on aesthetics. It just looks terrible. The third handout I have, it's Bells Ferry Road at Chastain. As you can see, it's a car seat. It was there for weeks. I'll go by there every day, and it was sitting out there for weeks, and just nothing was done about it. The fourth handout that you have is Big Shanty Road. As you probably are aware, Big Shanty Road turns off of Bells Ferry Road, and it's like a shortcut to get to Kennesaw State and the mall. This is one of the worst littered areas in the whole county. It just looks terrible every time I go through there. I drove through there yesterday, and it looks terrible. And the last handout I have is Sandstown Road. I was there, when I took these, I saw a mattress laying there, there was litter. I used to sell insurance in that area, and it just looked terrible whenever I was there. I think this is very important to the county for image. If I were a Fortune 500 executive and I was looking for places to build my factory to hire a lot of people, if I drove through Cobb County and I saw some of these littered areas, I think, well, these people must not have a lot of pride. Maybe I should consider somewhere else. And from the looks of it, it's just, I just wonder, has that ever happened? Is that happening now? And in closing, I wanted to say Atlanta, with Cobb County and the counties around it, Atlanta wants to be known as an international city, including this area. And every international city I've been to, and I've been to many, Toronto, Hamburg, Berlin, they're spotless. And it's just not the case here. And if we want to call ourselves an international city, the litter, the beer cans, the cigarette butts, the weeds, they all must go. Thank you very much.
Morning, Washburn.
Deborah,
Excuse
one
me
second.
just a minute. Sir, would you come back up?
Yes.
I know that we do have some spots in the area that are the pictures that you took that represent the litter there. We do have an online litter line that you can report.
I
and
do
you
that all
said
the
you
time.
did.
All the, yeah.
My assistant is going to get your information. But we do have a Bells Ferry Civic Association public meeting this Thursday at
Right.
Palmer Middle School.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to address public safety in the area.
Yeah.
The police will be represented, code enforcement will be there for things like this.
Yes, ma'am.
And I will be there, and also DOT. We are in the process of trying to get more crews and help with DOT for picking up along the roadside. We also have an organization called Keep Cobb Beautiful that allows businesses and neighborhood groups to adopt a mile of highway or roadway to clean up once a quarter, to volunteer. And we are trying to increase the manpower and the crews to do the work in the areas. So, but I would like to see if you're able to come Thursday night to
I'll be
Palmer
there,
Middle
yeah.
School. It's at 7 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Morning, Washburn.
My name is Morning Washburn. I live in the Mulberry Creek watershed. I'm here with the Cobb Parks Coalition and with inspiration from my days in Vacation Bible School. We've got a little bit of the world in our hands. Let's take care of it while we can. No more excuses, no more lies. We know you can do it when you try. Honor our vote. $40 million for parkland, green space. Fill the cup. And come on, y'all, do your homework and then play ball.
Tom Cheek.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Tom Cheek. I'm a resident of Marietta. I have a couple of topics to speak about today. I would like the Chairman and the Commissioners' help in getting the Cobb County Medical Examiner's Office to the level where they're able to achieve accreditation from the National Association of Medical Examiners. Unless members of this board possess talents and qualifications that I'm not aware of, none of you have the skills necessary to fully oversee operations concerning medical death investigation. That is why accreditation is so necessary. We still live in a county where the initial investigation of the death of a pet can be overseen by an accredited agency, and the death of a human child, a little girl or a little boy, is not. When considering budget needs for 2018, I hope you will give strong consideration to adding a full-time staff member to the medical examiner's office to oversee the accreditation process. This office was neglected for decades and is now on a slow climb to a level of accreditation already taken for granted among other public safety offices. Members of this board have celebrated when fire, police, 911 departments receive accolades for their levels of accreditation. And it'll be a great day when the employees of the medical examiner's office can see the same recognition. I hope that you'll take the time to research this need and apply the proper resources. The board will also vote today to follow the recommendations of the county attorney and the county comptroller to find the new funding source for utility relocation for the I-285 bridge. I feel strongly that the board will take this step. You've already taken a larger step than that. Last month at the Board of Commissioners meeting, you questioned an agenda item that identified the I-285 bridge as SPLOST approved. It is not SPLOST approved. And you, the board, questioned classification and properly funded that item. You've already taken steps beyond what I've asked for, so I have no doubt that you'll take this step today. Don't go backwards. Please approve this funding change. It It will allow people who have a great level of concern to work together to gain the trust of taxpayers in how SPLOST money is handled instead of in opposition. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Tom, can you wait 1 second, Tom, please?
Sure.
Commissioner Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to comment on the medical examiner issue. We've heard you. I've actually observed 3 autopsies with Dr. Gullidge to kind of get a better feel for the lack of space and the conditions that they have down in the medical examiner's office. And we're actually in the process of planning a trip up to Charlotte, the previous location that he worked at, to see the facilities up there, to see what we need to have here in Cobb County. So we're moving forward. It's taking a little bit of time because we have to arrange the travel plans to get up to Charlotte.
That's fantastic, and I have a lot of patience when it comes to this matter. That's why I'm not demanding immediate action, but just consideration this year to include in the budget for next year that position to oversee that accreditation process. And thank you very much for your efforts.
And one other thing, Tom, is that the first thing I did, my first day in office, is I went down to the medical examiner's office, the very first thing. And the county manager and I are working on issues down there that I saw, to address some issues that I saw while I was down there. So again, it's bureaucracy, but it is moving at a glacial speed. But the good news is moving glacial speed forward. And like Commissioner Ott said here, it's because of voters and residents like you who bring these issues to our attention. I can assure you, we hear you, and we just have to find a way to get it through, given the way our structure's set up for your government. But we're moving forward on that.
Thank you, and that progress is noted. We have come a very long way without making any significant changes to the budget of the office. 2 board-certified doctors, attention where attention is needed, a new laboratory included in the 2016 SPLOST, and I thank you very much for your efforts in moving that forward. Thank you all.
That concludes your public speakers.
Thank you. Tab 5. The consent agenda. I understand we're going to be pulling item number 7 and moving it to the regular agenda. And we're going to be making it, on tab 6, we're making it item 15 now. So other than that, that's the only change that I see. So I move to approve the following, items on the consent agenda. And for those of you that are at home, that consent agenda will be scrolled down on the screen after today's meeting. We're working on trying to get that real time. And authorize the execution of necessary documents by the appropriate county personnel. Any questions? Commissioner Cupid.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to our prior speaker, I do want to bring attention that we have an agenda item to apply for grant funds to improve our medical examiner coroner system.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call the question. And it passes 5-0. Okay, tab 6. And before we get into that, I'm gonna make a motion to add a non-agenda item to tab 6, item number 14. And just to read you what that is to approve a mutual separation and settlement agreement with Transdev North America Incorporated related to the program management services by Transdev to provide complete operations, maintenance, administrative services for Cobb Link and transition to a new Cobb Link program manager. Any discussion on that? So I call the question, and it passes 5-0. All right, with that, I'll now go turn the podium back over to Mr. Wilgus.
Good morning again, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. County Manager. Our first item is to approve a bridge signage and maintenance agreement with Brave Stadium Company, LLC, for their successors are assigned for installation of signage and common maintenance of the pedestrian bridges in the rights-of-way of Circle 75 and Windy Ridge Parkway located in land lots 915, 916, and 945, the 17th District, 2nd Sections, Cobb County. 3 bridges will facilitate access to the venue areas and provide connectivity for pedestrians' access. They are, number 1, I-285 multi-use bridge over I-285 and Circle 75 Parkway. Number 2, the bridge over Windy Ridge Parkway located west of Circle 70 Parkway. And number 3, the bridge over Circle 75 Parkway located just north of Windy Ridge Parkway. The bridge signage and maintenance agreement recommended for approval herewith requires BSC and their successors or assigns to be responsible for all costs associated with the manufacturer, installation, energy costs, maintenance, and insurance of the signs. We request the Board of Commissioners approve a bridge signage and maintenance agreement with Braves Stadium Company LLC or their successors or signs for installation of signage and common maintenance of pedestrian bridges in the rights-of-way of Circle 75 Parkway and Windy Ridge Parkway located in land lots 915, 916, and 945 of the 17th District, 2nd Section, Cobb County, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents in the form substantially similar to that provided under separate cover and as approved by the county attorney's office.
Commissioner Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, I want to thank you and your staff, and Deborah, you and your staff for kind of putting all this together. I know it took a lot of effort. So I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Our second agenda item is to approve resurfacing contract 2017-1 countywide major thoroughfares local maintenance improvement grant with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number X2903, CCDOT contract number 001042. Resurfacing is an approved component in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. The low bid of $11,085,657.47 from Baldwin Paving Company was reviewed and found to be reasonable and responsive. The contract completion date for this work is December 31st, 2017. We request the Board of Commissioners approve resurfacing contract 2017-1 countywide major thoroughfares local maintenance improvement grant with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $11,085,657.47 for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number X2903, CCDOT contract number 001042, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to make a comment. Folks, if you look at the list and you see the, Terrell Mill, Lower Roswell, and those roads where the Water Authority has dug up the road, just to kind of explain that the county and the Water Authority are going back together. The Water Authority would come in and just pave where they had dug up, but the county and the Water Authority are going to do it together so that the entire road gets paved from curb to curb. Motion to approve.
Second with a comment.
Absolutely, Commissioner Burrow.
And also, there's some on the list that we had to correct the district numbers, and also some that are, this is just for approval. That doesn't mean the work's going to start, because there's some that are in line for other improvements, and we won't resurface until the work is complete. I just want to make that note. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call the question. It passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Our third agenda item is to approve resurfacing contract 2017-2 local roads south with Blunt Construction Company for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number X2904, CCDOT contract number 001040. Resurfacing is an approved component in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. The low bid of $3,750,424.95 from Blunt Construction Company, Inc. was reviewed and found to be reasonable and responsive. The contract completion date for this work is December 31st, 2017. We request the Board of Commissioners approve resurfacing contract 2017-2 local roads south with Blunt Construction Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $3,750,424.95 for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number X2904, CCDOT contract number 001040, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Mr. Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just kind of a note, folks probably see that we have 3 separate agenda items for resurfacing here. As we mentioned at the previous meeting, with the number of roads that the county has in the life cycle of roads, it takes $25 million a year to basically try to keep up with the roads so that they can stay in good shape. So that's why you see so many. Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Our next agenda item is to approve resurfacing contract 2017-3, Local Roads North with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc., for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number X2905, CCDOT contract number 001041. Resurfacing is an approved component in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. The low bid of $5,380,642.25 from C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc. was reviewed and found to be reasonable and responsive. The contract completion date for this work is December 31st, 2017. We request the Board of Commissioners approve resurfacing contract 2017-3 Local Roads North with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,380,642.25 for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number X2905, CCDOT contract number 001041. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you, sir. A motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Any discussions? Call the question, and it passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Our fifth agenda item is to approve change order number 1 final to the contract with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc. for roadway improvements on Nance Road, Phase 3, project number D6160, CCDOT contract number 000544. Nance Road is an approved roadway improvements project in the 2005 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. Construction is complete, and change order number 1 final to the contract with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc. A savings to the project in the amount of $61,287.14 is requested due to variations between the original and final plan quantities. We request the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the contract with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc., a savings to the project in the amount of $61,287.14 for roadway improvements on Nance Road, Phase 3, project number D6160, CCDOT contract number 000544. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you, sir. A motion to approve. It's always good to return money for a change.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 6 is to approve a contract with American Contractors Grading and Paving, Inc. for drainage system repairs on Willow Glen Drive, project number X2217, CCDOT contract number 001124. Drainage system improvements is an approved component in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. The low bid of $62,837.76 from American Contractors Grading and Paving, Inc. was reviewed and found to be reasonable and responsive. The completion date for this project is 45 consecutive calendar days from issuance of notice to proceed. We request the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with American Contractors Grading and Paving, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $62,837.76 for drainage system repairs on Willow Glen Drive, project number X2217, CCDOT contract number 001124. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 7 is to approve project number X2223 to the 2016 countywide unit price contract with Butch Thompson Enterprises, Inc. for drainage system improvements on Smoke Ridge Court, CCDOT contract number 001069. Drainage system improvements is an approved component in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. Project number X2223 to the 2016 countywide unit price contract with Butch Thompson Enterprises, Inc., the lowest responsive unit price contractor in an amount not to exceed $24,997.50 is requested for drainage system improvements on Smoke Ridge Court. We request the Board of Commissioners approve project number X2223 to the 2016 countywide unit price contract with Butch Thompson Enterprises, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $24,997.50 for drainage system improvements on Smoke Ridge Court, CCDOT contract number 001069. Authorize the corresponding budget transaction and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. And it passes 5-0.
Thanks, sir. Agenda item number 8 is to approve supplemental agreement for project number X 2607-TO number 03 to the 2014 Master Task Order contract with Kimley Hornet and Associates for additional engineering design of Old Highway 41 Main Street roadway improvements, CCDOT contract number 000797. Old Highway 41 Main Street is an approved roadway improvements project in the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. This is also a joint project with the City of Ackworth. Supplemental agreement number 1 to the contract with Kimley Hornet and Associates, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $46,220 is requested for additional engineering design services required due to revision of the project limits. We request the Board of Commissioners approve supplemental agreement number 1 for project number X 2607-TO number 3 to the 2014 Master Task Order contract with Kimley Hornet and Associates in an amount not to exceed $46,220 for additional engineering design of Old Highway 41 Main Street roadway improvements, CCDOT contract number 000797. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Mr. Rutherford.
Thank you, sir. This is a project, as you board might remember, that this is also the location that would include the new public health facility in Ackworth, as well as the new library that serves Kennesaw and Ackworth. So motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. That passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Item number 9 is to amend change order number 1 as previously approved and approve supplemental agreement number 1 to the contract with Brooksbury Haney and Associates to upgrade 6 additional intersections for traffic signals, project number E5040, CCDOT contract number 000940. Traffic signals is an approved project in the traffic management, traffic signal timing, and planning component of the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. The signal upgrades of 6 intersections shown on the attached list or as previously approved through change order number 1 represent the addition of new items that were not included in the original contract with Brooksbury, Haney and Associates. Therefore, the addition of this work should have been approved as supplemental agreement number 1 to the original contractor rather than change order number 1. We request the Board of Commissioners amend change order number 1 to the contract with Brooksbury, Haney and Associates, Inc., as previously approved in the deductive amount of $174,625. Approve the supplemental agreement number 1 to this contract in an amount not to exceed $174,625 to upgrade 6 additional intersections for traffic signals, project number E5040, CCDOT contract number 000940, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Mr. Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Item number 10 is to amend change order number 1 as previously approved and approve supplemental agreement number 1 to the contract with Adaptive Microsystems LLC for Cumberland area traffic cameras and dynamic message signs, state PI number 0015204, Cobb County project number X2507, CCDOT contract number 001020. Cumberland area traffic cameras and dynamic message sign is an approved project in the traffic management, traffic signals, and planning component of the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program and is designated as state PI number 0015204. Procurement of the 9 additional lane assignment dynamic message signs as previously approved through change order number 1 represents the addition of new items that were not included in the original contract with Adaptive Micro. Therefore, the procurement should have been approved as supplemental agreement number 1 to the original contract rather than change order number 1. We request the Board of Commissioners amend change order number 1 to the contract with Adaptive Microsystems LLC as previously approved in the deductive amount of $270,331. Approve supplemental agreement number 1 to this contract in the amount not to exceed $270,331 for Cumberland area traffic cameras and dynamic message signs, state PI number 0015204, Cobb County project number X2507, CCDOT contract number 001020, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Mr. Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And I gotta, could you just briefly explain to me and to people that are watching what this system's gonna do?
What this system does is this is part of the SunTrust Park traffic management plan. we are running counterflow lanes on Circle 75. And what these signs will do during the day, and most of the times they'll be blacked out. And then once we have set up the traffic control for that, they will light up and give you direction as to which lane you need to be in for which parking lot.
Like arrows or? I mean,
Yes,
okay.
both yellow arrows and words. They're very similar. If you've gone down Atlanta Street and where West Atlanta comes across there, where the train crossing is, when the train's there, all of a sudden you'll see a light that lights up and says no right turn or something like that. It's very similar to that.
Commissioner Cupid?
We were just chatting.
Oh, okay, all right. Any other discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Item number 11 is to authorize payment for costs associated with design and installation of the traffic signal located at the intersection of Cobb Galleria Parkway and the entrance to the Encore. The Encore developer has requested payment to North Cherokee Electrical, Inc. from the county in the amount of $250,515.91 for incurred costs associated with the installation of a traffic signal located at Cobb Galleria Parkway and the entrance to the Encore. We request the Board of Commissioners authorize payment to North Cherokee Electrical, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $250,515.91 for costs associated with design and installation of the traffic signal located at the entrance of Cobb Galleria Parkway and the entrance to the Encore.
Commissioner Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just kind of a little bit of explanation. This requirement for the county to fund this traffic light dates back to 1995 when the Kennedy family donated the land for the Kennedy interchange. And that the board at the time entered into an agreement that had conditions that were met, but since it was so long ago, really no one in the county knew that it was there until the development now came, that the Encore, which then prompted the request for the light. Legal's taken a look at it and agrees that we are obligated to pay for the light.
Any other discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Item number 12 is to approve a consultant services agreement with Nelson Nygaard Consulting Associates, Inc. for development of Cobb Link Transit Service Plan, project number X2515, CCDOT contract number 001118. Planning studies as an approved project in the traffic management, traffic signals, and planning component of the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program. We request the Board of Commissioners approve a consultant services agreement with Nelson Nygaard Consulting Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $696,539 for development of Cobb Link Transit Service Plan, project number X2515, CCDOT contract number 001118, authorize the corresponding budget transaction, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just kind of a word of explanation for the public. What this is some consultants coming in and taking a look at our entire transit system. Cobb Link, the circulator where the stops are, the ridership, all those things to kind of get a feel for, do we have the right buses in the right places, making the right stops, and then they'll come back to the board with recommendations to improve the routes. They'll take a look at all of our flex service, basically all the components. So motion to approve.
Second.
When was the last time we did a study involving the bus routes, roughly?
It was certainly before I was here. It's probably 7 or 8 years, sir.
Okay, and the reason I ask is that we've had a lot of dynamic changes to the county since then. And, I realize that there's a sensitivity about studies, but the reality is the county's significantly changed, even the times that you've been here. Mm-hmm. And there have been a lot of new issues brought up. I know Commissioner Cupid and I are both looking at Sunday services. So I think this is time to do a new study to reflect the changes in this county. And in fact, are we using our bus system in the most efficient and effective manner?
Yes, sir.
So any other discussion? Call the question. And it passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Item number 13 is to authorize the implementation of 2 new transit routes to be known as the Cobb Link Cumberland Circulator. The Cumberland area is a major employment and residential activity center with significant growth potential. Transportation infrastructure and services are critical for managing traffic congestion and facilitating economic development. The department proposes to implement two new circulator routes to the Cumberland area in March of 2017. The annualized cost to implement the two new Cobb Link Cumberland circulator routes is estimated to be an increase of $1,127,767. The department recommends implementing this new service on March 31st, 2017, resulting in an estimated increase of $569,074 to the department's FY17 operating budget. We request the Board of Commissioners authorize the implementation of the two new transit routes to be known as Cobb Link Cumberland Circulator effective March 31st, 2017, and further authorize the corresponding budget transactions.
Mr. Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The routes that the circulator will drive are available on the DOT website. Also, just kind of some comments. I know that in meetings with some local businesses, there are some concerns about some stops outside of their property and whether or not folks might use their property for parking with the stadium. And what's been discussed is we're going to wait and see what happens, and then if we need to sit down with those property owners and work out some plans on how to deal with that, we're going to do it that way. So motion to approve.
Any discussion? And I just want to assure everybody that we're looking very carefully at the ridership of these, of this new circulator program. Like Commissioner Ott said, sometimes you have to do it and see what happens, but we're not just going to be passing it and then, what comes, what comes. We'll be looking very carefully at the routes to adjust them if necessary to make sure that the intent is being met by the service. So with that, I call the question. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask Julie Livingston to present item number 14.
Okay, item number 14 is an agenda item to approve the terms of a mutual separation and settlement agreement with Transdev North America, Inc. related to program management services to Cobb Link, and to authorize a transition to a new Cobb Link program manager. The terms are consistent with our discussion in executive session, and the transition to the new Cobb Link program manager will be consistent with the next agenda item.
Commissioner Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to thank the county manager, Jim Wilkes, Julie, and Vita for their participation Friday in the mediation. We would not have gotten where we got without all of your help. And just so folks know, what we're doing is we're stepping out of one contract, and the next agenda item is going to move us forward into the next contract. What this does is it provides for a smoother transition to the new service provider for Cobb Link, so that as we move into opening day and the circulator and we look at the system as we just discussed in the previous agenda item, that things will be a little bit smoother. So motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, sir. This last agenda item has been revised and moved from consent to regular. And this item is to approve the recommended ranking of the 4 qualified firms for operation, maintenance, and administrative services for Cobb Link. The operation, maintenance, and administration support of Cobb Link is undertaken through a multi-year contract with a private firm. The selection committee reviewed the proposal and ranked the firms in each of the required component areas based on qualifications and experience, approach, financial stability, references, and cost. Once the final conditions and fees have been negotiated, the department will present an agenda item to the board requesting approval of a multi-year contract with the selected firm, which will comply with all Federal Transit Administration regulations and guidelines. We request the Board of Commissioners approve the recommended ranking of the 4 qualified firms for operation, maintenance, and administration services for Cobb Link, and authorize negotiations for the final multi-year contract beginning with the top-ranked firm, First Transit, Inc., utilizing Selection Process 1 competitive negotiations.
Mr. Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so folks, if you start doing the math and you start looking at things, you're going to say, how do we know that they can get up and running? First Trans operates the bus service at Kennesaw State and Georgia State, so they are a local company. They are already operating in the area. Also, during the discussions on Friday, we did discuss with First Trans whether or not they had the ability to get ready by April 1st. And one of the things to point out is in the request for proposal, the RFP that was put out, one of the questions that the county asks are you able to ramp up service prior to the expected startup date? And First Trans, along with the others, said that yes, they were. So motion to approve.
Any discussion? Call the question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And before we get to the next tab, I want to have like a little school circle here about what's going on here. We have a consent agenda, and then we have the regular agenda. And I want to reassure everybody that even though it's a consent agenda, it's not something that we haven't looked at. It begins with Commissioner Cupid and I and the county manager sitting down and going over the agenda to begin with, along with his staff. And at that meeting, we actually pulled off some items out of the consent agenda and put them on the regular agenda. And then yesterday, we have a work session where all the commissioners are involved, and they also looked at consent agenda, had some issues, and pulled things off the consent agenda and put them on the regular agenda. So what I'd like to say is this process kind of reminds me of a duck. You know, the feet are swimming underneath the water, and there's a lot of churning on going down there, and people don't see that churning. But what you see today is the duck. And it literally looks good, and it's moving smoothly. But it's moving smoothly because the churning that went on over the last 2 weeks has produced this product today. So I just want to reassure everybody here that we just don't pro forma look at this thing and then come into meeting and pass it and move on. There's a lot of discussion that goes into this product. And when we have our meetings now, there's almost a groan from the commissioners because the books are really, really big, because I'm really committed to making sure that all these issues come out in the light of day. So I just want to, as a moment, as an administrative note, to let everybody know, both here and that's watching on Cobb TV, that your board is working hard to make sure that when we vote on things, it's not just something that we do without consideration. Every issue on this agenda today has been thought about, the commissioners talked about, and brought forward in a manner that we think appropriate to lead this great county forward. So with that, I'll go to tab number 7. Which is the Public Services Agency, and I believe our first speaker today is Director Jimmy Kesey.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Morning.
Commissioners, Mr. Manager. Our first item this morning is the approval of the final closeout supplemental agreement and deductive change order to the contract with Sports Turf Company for the redevelopment of Wild Horse Creek Park under the 2011 Park SPLOST program. This project included athletic field renovations and the replacement of an existing concession restroom building. One of the diamond fields was converted to a rectangular field, and the BMX bicycle facility was relocated. These updated facilities provide a significant improvement for our participants. So at this time, we're asking the board to approve this final closeout supplemental agreement and $10,531.88 deductive change order with Sports Turf Company for the redevelopment of Wild Horse Creek Park, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Cupid?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Call the question. And it passes 5-0.
Thank you. Our second item is for the board to approve a contract with Bartow Paving Company for asphalt paving and related services to resurface various parking lots and access roadways in our parks under the 2011 and 2016 Park SPLOST program. Paving improvements for parking lots and access roadways into parks are approved projects in the 2011 and 2016 SPLOST programs. An invitation to bid was advertised, and sealed bids were received from 4 firms, with Bartow Paving being the lowest responsive bidder. A list of the parks where this work will be performed can be found on the 3rd page of the agenda item. Therefore, we're asking the Board of Commissioners to approve a contract with Bartow Paving Company in an amount not to exceed $3,298,946.43 for asphalt paving and related services to resurface the parking lots and access roadways under the 2011 and 2016 Park SPLOST program, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Burrow?
Thank you. Yes, with pleasure, I will make a motion to approve and just make a note that Bells Ferry Park is now the Skip Wells Park, and we will be having an unveiling when the permanent sign is installed. So look in my newsletter for the date. Motion to approve.
Any questions? Call a motion? Call a question, I mean. It passes 5-0. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
And tab 8.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. Our first item is with 2016 SPLOST, the 10 East Park Square construction projects and the security systems for them. Those projects were the Solicitor General, the Superior Court Clerk, Alternative Dispute Resolution, and the Circuit Defender's Office. We recommend the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Black Creek Integrated Systems Corp. in the total amount of $127,174 for systems modifications to support building renovations at 10 East Park Square, Marietta, a 2016 SPLOST project, and authorize the corresponding budget transactions.
Commissioner Burrow.
Yes, make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, our second item deals with the 2011 SPLOST, the library project. It's called a Radio Frequency Identification System. We're working with the library on this because the first implementation of this will be in the East Marietta Library, which we're building. That system will combine security with more efficient tracking of materials throughout the library. And a request for proposal was advertised by purchasing. Selection Committee is looking at that. And in this agenda item, we're requesting the Board of Commissioners authorize that Selection Committee to negotiate scope and fees related to the radio frequency identification for the Cobb County Public Library System, a 2011 SPLOST project, beginning with the top-ranked firm. And then we'll return to the Board of Commissioners at a later time for contract approval.
Commissioner Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, our last item is also SPLOST. It's a 2016 SPLOST project, the Ackworth Kennesaw Health Facility. And the board awarded an initial contract to Spratlin Contractors, and they and their designers worked with property management and the health department to complete the construction documents to the point whereby the guaranteed maximum price could be established. And that's what we bring forward today, the recommendation that the Board of Commissioners approve supplemental agreement number 1 to the contract with John Spratlin in the amount of $2,209,352 to establish the guaranteed maximum price of $2,879,441 for the construction of the new Ackworth Kennesaw Health Department facility, which is a 2016 SPLOST project, authorized property management to procure through the purchasing department other items and work outside the design builder scope, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you. Could you tell us the anticipated start time and length?
Oh, it'll start immediately, and it'll finish about February 17th or so of 2018.
Great, thank you. Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. And it passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, tab 9. Director Heaton. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Commissioners, County Manager. I'm here today to ask for approval to change police precinct boundaries between Precinct 3 and Precinct 4. Cobb County Police Department is requesting approval to adjust the southern boundary of the Precinct 4 to improve their response efficiency and effectiveness. This will also affect the zone record providers for these zones, which are Marietta Wrecker and Beryl Wrecker Service. And the plan to make these changes effective February 20th at 05:30 in accordance with the county ordinance. Vehicles for hire, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 126-2 states that when we're changing those wrecker zones, we must have board approval to do that. So with that, I have put up what you see in pink or whatever color you might want to call that, with the slashes in it, is the old zone, And then the pink that's coming down, solid pink, will become the new precinct zone and also new record zone for Marietta Record. Therefore, I am asking the board's approval to change the police precinct boundaries between precinct 3 and 4.
Commissioner Burrow. Because I said so.
Okay. Precincts. I would love to make the motion to approve. And justify precinct 6.
That's why I did it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I just got to.
Absolutely.
No. No, I just want to, just so the folks in precinct 4, you know, they may have some concerns that with expanding precinct 4 down into precinct 3, that it'll affect coverage. And, you know, it shouldn't, but that's one of the things that obviously the director and the police chief will take a look at to make sure. This is a big help for precinct 3. Correct. Which has the Cumberland Mall area, and with the intersections of 285 and 75, it's one of our areas with a pretty high level of, or call for service, so.
Correct.
Further discussion? Call the question. It passes 5-0. Thanks, Sam. Okay, tab 10. Morning, Dana.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 agenda items from Community Development. The first is to present the recommendations on the alterations to Chapter 134 of the Cobb County Code as it was made by the Planning Commission at their last meeting. These are the alterations that are coming forward for board consideration of a public hearing and a potential vote on February the 28th at 7 p.m. in this room. The Planning Commission has recommended the following actions, sir. Under Section 134-37, which is the special land use permits, they are recommending the insertion of the word new in front of cemeteries. What that would do is cemeteries then that are existing would not be required to come forward for a special land use permit. So if, say, Mount Harmony Cemetery wanted to expand, they would not have to come forward for a special land use permit since they're already existing and on the ground in the community. But if somebody wanted to start a new cemetery, they would need to come forward through the special land use permit process in order to obtain the proper controls for that. Under Section 134-203, which is the Residential Senior Living District, the Planning Commission has recommended a definition for underground parking, so that there were a couple of larger scale developments that came through under the CCRC and other types of codes, and there was a lot of discussion about where the start of the height of the building started from, since the underground parking was a little bit above ground. So there's a lot of conversation about that, and we think this clarifies that for other type of senior housing developments that may come forward, which are more intense than, say, a non-supportive development. Under 134-203.2 is the residential senior living non-supportive, and the Planning Commission has recommended the following in regard to this. They have recommended leaving collector roadways within the RSL framework, giving the flexibility to the Board of Commissioners as it relates to that. But they also recommended adding some language that would help focus it as it related to RSL developments on collector roadways. They're recommending that there be a acreage minimum of 10 acres, so that it would have to be a larger tract of land on a collector roadway. They also recommended a density cap of 4 units per acre versus 5 units per acre, which is under our other parts of the non-supportive RSL. Since collector roadways tend to be farther away from commercial areas, they thought that the larger required lot size and the density cap was what they thought was in the best interest of the community. They also recommended some cleanup language on 203.2. That's under 11Q and S. Under 11Q, they're recommending that so the language cleanup to be clear that the facades can be constructed of the variety of the materials from an architectural standpoint, and that the language regarding the maximum building height copy that of other types of residential developments where it just has a total height number cap rather than removing the 2 stories reference. So those are the recommendations from the Planning Commission, and if the board concurs with these, then we'll incorporate these into the draft that will go out to the public this week under all of the codes.
So my understanding is this is information you're providing us, but we don't have any other further action to do on this.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, all right. Question, discussion? Yes, certainly. I'll start with Commissioner Cupid.
I have no questions, thank you.
Commissioner Weatherford?
Mr. Johnson, I just want to make sure that you're in concurrence with these recommendations from the staff's perspective.
I think the Planning Commission made very good recommendations, sir.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Thanks, Dana. I agree with these two, and I like the 10 acres or more and maximum 4 units per acre on the collector road. But I do ask that the public look at these and give us input, email us before the February 28th, I believe, night meeting, where we will have the next public hearing and vote.
Commissioner Ott?
No questions.
All right, I believe you have another item?
Yes, sir. Item number 2 is in regard to a consideration of a memorandum of agreement with the city of Powder Springs as it relates to their desire to create a one-stop process. Cobb County has a very successful one-stop process for issuing of land disturbance permits, where we get all of the different departments together to do a final review of plans and stamp them at the same time. It's very efficient, and many other governmental jurisdictions look at our process and try to emulate it within their own. The city of Powder Springs uses our water and fire marshal as part of their development process. So as such, they are asking to emulate our one-stop process and utilize community development staff in order to schedule their one-stop proposals, so they will piggyback on our weekly one-stop proposals. So basically, if Cobb County has 3 particular items for signing off on for the one-stop process, and the city of Powder Springs has 2, we'll just place the 2 items after the Cobb County ones, so that the appropriate county personnel can stay in the same room and handle it without having to handle it at another day, which will be part of their normal process anyways. We think this creates efficiency for the city. We think this creates efficiency across departments for the county, and we're very happy to recommend approval of this memorandum of agreement with the city.
Hey, Commissioner Cupid?
Yes, and I'm very happy to support it, and just want to highlight this as of one of many of examples that we have of partnering with our cities in the county.
Honored to second.
Any further discussion? Call the question. And it passes 5-0.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would ask Mr. Jason Gaines to come up and please present the matrix agenda item, sir.
Good morning. I'm here this morning to request approval of a contract for consultant services to implement action items from the Dobbins Air Reserve Base Joint Land Use Study, or JLUS. The JLUS, which was approved in February of 2015, was a partnership between Cobb County, Dobbins Air Reserve Base, and the cities of Marietta and Smyrna. The focus for the study was on compatibility of local land use and base operations. The final study document was organized into a variety of focus areas and action items. 3 of those were highly prioritized. Those 3 were a 3-dimensional imaginary surfaces model, a light pollution study, and a public outreach and education program. The United States Department of the United States Department of Defense Office of Economic Adjustment awarded grant funding to the county for implementation of the 3 aforementioned items in the amount of $90,000, which consisted of an $81,000 federal grant and a $9,000 required local match. Previous agenda items related to this project include acceptance of the grant from the Office of Economic Adjustment, release of a request for proposals, and ranking of the respondents to the request for proposals. Matrix Design Group was the top-ranked firm. They have a local office here in Cobb County on Johnson Ferry Road. They submitted the low bid in response to the county's RFP in the amount of $89,828. With that, staff recommends or requests that the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Matrix Design Group in an amount not to exceed $89,828 to implement action items from the Dobbins Air Reserve-based Joint Land Use Study in conformity with RFP number 17-6205, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Burrow?
Thanks, Justin. This has been a great project over the last couple years. We had several public meetings with our city partners, Smyrna and Marietta, that gave a lot of input, and Dobbins and the community. So I'm glad to see this moving forward, and appreciate all your help, Jason and Dana and your staff. So I make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? Commissioner Ott?
Yes, I just want to thank Jason, Dana, and all your staff. I mean, this is a concerted effort between the county and local businesses in the community to protect one of the most valuable resources we have in this county. I think if we just sat back on our heels, we would possibly suffer the closure of the base. And so I commend everyone for the tremendous job in trying to make sure this stays open.
Any further discussion? Call the question. Passes 5-0. And Mr. Hankerson? I believe you're up.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Here to make a presentation about the class and pay study. The classification and compensation study by the Archer Company was initiated in October of 2014. The study included a review of all full-time and part-time graded positions and conduct a market review to recommend a new pay plan, job classifications, and FLSA status. Additionally, to review and recommend revisions to leave and benefits. The Archer Group presented their recommendations to the Board of Commissioners August 23rd, 2016 in a work session with a financial impact at approximately $12 million annually. The board had reserved $10 million in the general fund for the implementation. The Board of Commissioners held a special called work session on January 4th, 2017 to discuss those recommendations. Action items from this work session have been completed. The department managers and elected officials have reviewed the recommendations from Archer regarding their full-time positions. Their feedback was reviewed by the county manager and then forwarded to Archer to include in the pay plan recommendations. The feedback from management included any changes to address critical need positions where departments have been challenged in filling those positions. Human Resources has completed reviews with the department managers and elected officials of the recommendations for their part-time positions. With their feedback, the county has developed and recommends a new pay plan for part-time employees. And the reinstatement of the compensation committee was accomplished by board action on January 24th, 2017 to review the personnel policy, compensation, and benefit recommendations, as well as the workforce satisfaction survey. Their first meeting of the committee occurred February 13th, with their recommendations to come before this board at a future date. In January, the board identified an additional $3 million in the FY16 fund balance to be used in the implementation of the pay study. The recommended implementation date before you today is June the 4th, 2017. The FY17 and 18 cost for implementation is approximately $12.1 million. The Archer recommendation for full-time employees includes a new pay scale with new pay grade, minimum, midpoint, and a maximum. Employees below the new minimum for their classification will be moved to the new minimum. Employees below the new market control point for their classification will be placed at a salary between minimum and market control point based on the amount of time that they have been in their current classification. And their last three performance ratings. This will be applied using a 10-year spread from the minimum to the market control point. The county recommendations for part-time include a new minimum, a midpoint, and a maximum on an existing pay scale. Employees below the new minimum for the classification will be moved to the new minimum. Employees who participated in the study by completing a PDQ will be able to appeal the recommendation for their classification and grade through their chain of command to the Archer for full-time and to the Human Resources Department for part-time employees. The county manager will be charged with resolving all appeals. The recommended salary adjustment is either up to the minimum or placement in the range based on time in class and performance ratings. Therefore, recommended salary is not appealable. Therefore, the recommendation before the Board of Commissioners today is to approve the Archer Company's recommendations impacting full-time positions and incumbents as presented at the August 23rd, 2016 work session, including implementation of option 3 recommended by the Archer Company, approve the attached recommended classification and pay plan for part-time graded positions, and authorize the county manager to resolve all employee appeals with implementation of recommended classification and pay systems to be effective June 4th, 2017, and further authorize the corresponding budget transactions.
And I move that the board authorizes the implementation of the recommended pay and class study as delivered by the Archer Company. And discussion. And Commissioner Cupid.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank you, Chairman, for your energy around this agenda item and believe that your presence has provided significant momentum to seeing it be executed prayerfully today. I just wanted to state, as I've stated before, that our ability to provide service through our county is directly correlated to those who provide that service, which are employees here at Cobb County. And while there may have been ongoing debate about how we best retain and even attract those here in the county, I am confident that this is a significant step forward to us not just talking about it, but us doing something about it. I'm also pleased that we have reinstated our compensation committee to look at the recruitment and retention of employees beyond this study so that we can again ensure that we are best able to provide excellent service throughout the county by having an excellent workforce to do so. Finally, I just want to share that there has been some criticism of our plan as it does not completely recognize the uniqueness of some policies or organizations with the county and does not provide pay that reflects that uniqueness. But I've shared this in other settings and will share this again today, that our pay and compensation study is an objective analysis to look at how we are ensuring that our pay is equitable to those in similar organizations, and also to ensure that persons are being paid equitably in comparable positions to their counterparts in other organizations. And I am pleased to say that what we have before us is going to help get us there. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you also mention or talk about how if there's an appeal process, for example, if we inadvertently classified something different than what fits our criteria that maybe we missed? I know that we have some certain situations, possibly in public safety, that might meet that criteria, and we've gotten some information from courts and things like that. I just want to make sure there's a way to correct it if it's necessary before we implement it.
There will be an appeals process for the employees to file an appeal through their chain of command to address any of the recommendations.
As well as the chain of command if we miss something. It
Yes.
doesn't start with an employee, does it? It could start with a management or something.
It'll go through the chain of command, as Mr. Hagley pointed out, to Archer, and then to me, and then I will resolve it.
Okay, good, because I do know a couple things we need to talk about, but I don't want to hold this up, and want to make sure that we have a recourse if we have inadvertently looked at something or missed something.
And that's true, Commissioner, because we had all of our managers and elected officials looked at it, but some of the employees may not have seen some of it to great detail, and there's a process with that can be addressed.
Great, thank you. And I want to thank all of you for your efforts. I know this has been a long, hard process, going through reams and reams of data and making sure it's valuable and applicable to us. And I'm glad that we're finally doing it, fully support it. Thank you.
Commissioner Weatherford, Commissioner Burrow.
Yes, thank you, Tony, and Mr. H. and staff. I'm very excited to see this finally coming to a vote. It's been a couple years that we've been looking at this, and it's high time that we implement or vote on this to implement it. And we have the best employees. They do go above and beyond day in and day out, and they need to be compensated accordingly. The other thing I'm happy about is that we can cover this first step, initial phase, with the money set aside and additional funding that we have, so that it doesn't affect any increase in our budget or taxes at this point. So, and I do think, that we will continue to look at this, not just through the appeal process, but down the road through the compensation committee and all of us looking at things that we can implement to make sure certain departments that need to be increased are. So I agree and support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow. Commissioner Ott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to thank Tony, you and your staff, and the county manager, and for all the hard work and the discussion that we've had on this topic. Mr. Chairman, I look at this as two components. One is pay and one is the classification. And I think as everyone knows, the classification has not been looked at in way too many years. So I'm fully supportive of the classification part of the study. I have concerns about the pay. Yes, I think we need to make sure that our employees are paid appropriately for the tremendous job that they do. And, the 3% merit raises that have been given over the last 3 years, I think reflects the board's commitment to doing that. My concerns are that this is in essence a across-the-board pay increase, with the exception of certain areas of public safety. And the two areas that this county has the most difficulty in getting employees is in public safety and IS. And my concern is that this does nothing to address the critical needs of the county from that regard. Yes, it's a good first step. And, I understand Commissioner Cupid has said in the past that the scope of the study was to examine the pay and classification based on the market. But that was 2 years ago. This is now. We have critical needs for public safety and IS to move this county, not just forward, but to maintain the adequate level of services that the citizens expect. And so my concern is that I don't think this does this, and we're doing a $12 million commitment that is not, yes, we have one-time money to pay for this year and all of next year, but moving forward, we're committing $12 million of a budget, which we all know is extremely tight. So what I'd need to see some commitment by this board or by you, the chairman, that we will address those critical needs in public safety and IS and any other department where we're having trouble. But my understanding is, and speaking with the county manager and Tony, that those, especially public safety, are the two areas where we're having the most difficulty, and that changes need to be made. And it may be that those departments need to be paid more, even if market rate is not, just because the current pay that public safety makes now may meet market. It's not enough for us to get people to want the job. And the fact of the matter is we have extreme shortages and we can't keep the officers. And, it takes almost an entire year to train a new officer, and we cannot continue to have this training cost because we can't keep the officers. And that holds true for 911. Those two in public safety are the most critical. We have to be able to retain our employees in order to provide the level of service. So I'd like to hear your comments and what kind of commitments we can have for that.
Well, thank you. First of all, I too also want to add my applause to the county manager and Mr. Hagler and all the directors for this work and this very important commitment by the county to its employees. I've said many times that this is my number one priority, to get this out of the barn and onto the street, and we've done that today, and we've done it with hard work. For those who are not aware, it was brought up last month, and there was some issues that the study was a boilerplate study, and that the numbers that were in the study did not reflect Cobb County requirements and positions. So, working with the board, we directed the county manager and the directors to go back to their staffs and their employees to take a look at those numbers and reaffirm them that they were in fact, the numbers that are in the study reflect the market for Cobb County. And that's why we delayed this a month. But that was the only proviso was for the delay was that we had to make sure the numbers were accurate. And I've been assured by every director of the staff plus the county manager, those numbers in fact do reflect Cobb County requirements and compensation for the market. Archer also came back with a statement to us apologizing for the product, that they used a template and obviously left some other counties in there, and that's been pointed out. But the bottom line is the numbers in the study reflect, as a starting point, the new market compensation standards for this county. I think it's important to also highlight a couple other things, and I'll also address what Commissioner Ott and also the members of the board have asked me to do. First of all, the last time we had a market survey done like this, paid for by a contractor, was in 2006. That was over 10 years ago. The last time we did an in-house market survey was in 2008, 9 years ago. So this survey was long overdue. Secondly, this elevation of compensation does not apply to every member of the county staff. I asked Mr. Hagler this morning for the numbers. We have roughly 5,000 employees in the county, and that, of course, involves employees that are part of other state constitutional officers, the sheriff's department, the judges. They themselves have their own salary schedule, but their employees come under this study. So they're part of that 5,000, and out of that, about 1,800 full-time employees will be affected by this market compensation study, and another 460 part-time employees. So we're not like the merit, we're not raising everybody up. We're looking at the market and seeing, in fact, which positions in our staff qualify for increased compensation. So roughly less than half of the employees will get this. So this is not a blanket, it's not a blanket program. I think that's important to realize that because it goes to reflect how conscientious the board is in looking at the needs. We realize that every dollar that you provide to the board is your dollar, and we want to make sure that we spend it in the correct manner. So again, I want to emphasize that this market survey looks across the whole field of our employees and which ones, if we don't elevate their compensation, would probably go back out into the field because they can get better compensation there. Secondly, I think it's important that we highlight the fact that in the last 3 years, this county staff has basically addressed through the permitting process, by inspections, by just other many manifold responsibilities, has basically supported administratively the creation of a new mini city down around SunTrust Park and Battery Park. And they've done it without increasing the size of the staff. That is absolutely incredible and notable by itself. It is. And I think the staff has to be appreciated for that. They have carried this burden, and they carried it cheerfully, professionally, and I think that the reason the stadium is going to open up on time, all right, is large part because our county staff took on this responsibility, understood the importance of it, and did it. So this alone should drive the requirements for an increased, for relooking at their compensation. The third thing I want to point out is this is the very first step. This is not going to be a perfect product, but it's important that we get it out there. In other words, good is the enemy of good enough. We've looked at this. We realize there's going to be some situations that perhaps we haven't looked at appropriately or correctly, but the appeals process is going to take care of that. And secondly, we recognize, as Commissioner Ott has pointed out and other members of the board, that there are some specialties here that require additional resources. And I'll just simply use one example. Who among you in here would want to do a traffic stop at 2 o'clock in the morning? No good things happen after 2 o'clock, after midnight. And I remember when I was a group commander, I had a policy that unless you were married, you were to be back at the barracks by midnight, because nothing good happens after midnight. And all the letters that I wrote to mothers and fathers is because their sons or their daughters did something after midnight that they shouldn't have been doing. So the kind of men and women who address this kind of public safety issue, they require special consideration because of the nature of their job. And I'm committed to keeping this item open in discussions with Tony Hagler, with the county manager, with the public safety director, with the FOP and other organizations to make sure that we address this issue in a manner that reflects the special needs of their job. Commissioner Ott has also mentioned information support is an area. There are probably some other ones, like 9/11, but there's probably some other ones too. But the bottom line is, this is a dynamic process. Just because we're addressing this issue today does not mean that we're done with it. I'm going to be driving this issue just as hard as I've driven getting this thing out before the vote by February. Why is that? Because we want to ensure, as I've learned over my time, that nothing good happens unless you have an environment and a community where you can live safely. Everything depends on the foundation of being able to live in a safe environment where you're treated equitably by our public safety officials. So we're going to be looking at this and these other areas to make sure that we perhaps introduce new ways of compensating them for the uniqueness of their job. And that's my commitment to you, Mr. Commissioner Ott, and anyone else on the board here, that we are not going to stop here until we address this issue and find a way to correct it. The last thing I want to mention here is that I want to make this very clear to all of you here and those that are watching. Quality is not cheap. You get what you pay for. And the danger we have in this county is that our public servants are so good that we take them for granted. And this goes way beyond the fact that everybody, that's the wrong word, many look at government employees as being overpaid. Well, I think that if you could be in their shoes, they're kind of like that analogy I was using about the duck, you know? They're really nice people at the counter. You don't see the amount of work that they do under the water to make sure that when you walk away from the counter, you're taken care of. All the things they have to do to make sure that when you stop there and go to them for help, that when you walk away there, your problems are addressed in a way that reflects your need and standard for how you want to be treated by your public servant. But this comes with a cost. Now, we all know I'm committed to not raising taxes in 2018. And the only exception I've made is to the people with the cups. All right? There is some money in those cups because I'm willing to raise the millage rate to do that. Now, what happens in 2019 and beyond, we'll see what happens. But I can tell you one thing, nothing will happen without me working with the board. I'm working very hard with this board for my commitment to them was to be no surprises. So they're expecting me to come up with some ideas of how to do this. But the most important thing is that whatever we give to you today in the form of this motion isn't a Mike Boyce program or Commissioner Ott program. This is a board program that reflects how we have gone to our constituents, in this case, the staff and other people, seen what their needs are, and then responded to it. So whether we have one person who has a concern or we have 5,000, I want you to know that your board hears these. And the only drawback is that we do it in a bureaucratic process, which is slow. But today, we're sending a signal to our staff and to this county that we're willing to pay for that quality that so many people take for granted. And I'm thankful for all the staff work that's gone into this. I'm thankful for what the commissioners have done for that. I'm thankful for the fact that Chairman Lee last year lived up to his commitment to not use resources that I would be involved in, which is how we found all the funding to do this and implement this through September of 2018. So I'm grateful for all the players in this, and I think that when we vote on this, this will reflect that this was a team effort that reflects how much we appreciate the team that we work for and who works for us. So with that, I call the motion. I'm sorry. Thanks for a second. I call the motion. Yeah, okay. And the motion, the question calls 5-0. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and Board, I want to thank you as the board on behalf of the employees for approving this classroom pace study. I also want to thank all of our department heads and elected officials and constitutional officers that work with us on the appeal process. In many of these studies, that process does not occur until after the board approved the study. So we were able to do this prior to, which then authenticated the report, as you stated, to Cobb County. And I just want to say thank you on all of our behalf and thank all of my department heads, elected officials, and constitutional officers that took the charge from you and worked with Tony and I to bring this product to you today as you, as a board, requested. And thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Volkman, tab 12.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. The purpose of this agenda item is to amend the funding of the utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company for the I-285 multi-use bridge, which was originally approved on April 12, 2016. The funding for this project was originally set up in the 2016 SPLOST fund, and we are recommending it be moved to the Public Facilities Project Fund with a transfer from the Cumberland Special Service District.
Mr. Ott.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Call the question? And vote passes 5-0. Thank you, Bill.
Sir.
We'll go to tab 14, where we have announcement of board appointments. Commissioner Weatherford.
Just a moment.
Sure.
Just a moment, sir. Got one approval there, don't we, first, sir?
That we already.
Oh, that's right. Apologize. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to make the announcement to appoint Michael Nagy to the Keep Cobb Beautiful Incorporated for a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2018. It fills a vacancy in post 15 that I have, sir. Also, would like to announce the appointment of Yvette Daniel to post 5 in the Neighborhood Safety Commission. Many of you may know her. She is a city councilwoman in Kennesaw. Look forward to working with her. And that would be to post 5 for the Neighborhood Safety Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Thank you.
Okay. And I'd like to announce the appointment of Nicholas Kelland and Richard Moore to the Workforce Development Board, and the appointment of Joe Profit to the 1% Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax Citizens Oversight Committee. All right, I believe we're on to Commissioner comments. So I'll start with Commissioner Ott today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First one I have is I would like to recognize 2 couples who have worked many, many years in 2 of the voting precincts in District 2. Ed and Carolyn Eckert managed the precinct at Johnson Ferry Baptist Church, and they were there for 23 years. And then Fred and Faye Harris managed the precinct at East Valley Elementary School. Fred worked elections for 21 years, and Faye was over 31 years as an election official. These folks worked long days, setting up the poll early in the morning, closing down late at night, and always with a happy face when you show up. So I just want to thank them for their many years of service. Also want to like to thank Chris Johnson, who is one of our tech service managers, for calling on one of my constituents who was having difficulty with signing into the new Swift 911 app. He assisted him with navigating through his Apple computer and was able to get him onto the site. Spent a lot of time that he didn't need to do, and it just kind of highlights the exceptional service that our employees provide. In the heat, the beat, and the pulse, I want to congratulate Officer Sarah Saeed, who was named Cobb County Rotary Officer of the Year for the fourth quarter of 2016. She is recognized for saving a life in November of 16. Officer Saeed was dispatched to a medical call at LA Fitness on Roswell Road. She arrived prior to fire and EMT and immediately began CPR on a 65-year-old male who collapsed while working out. See, I told you that working out stuff is not good for you. Officer Saeed asked about an AED and took over CPR. Once the AED arrived, Officer Saeed utilized it and administered a shock. Fire and EMT arrived on the scene, took over life support. Prior to the patient leaving LA Fitness with Metro Ambulance, the patient's pulse was restored and he was breathing on his own. Fire Captain Joshua Taylor commended her for her swift action that resulted in saving life. Also, I want to announce that I will be starting up my town hall series. The first one will be February 27th at 7 o'clock at Chestnut Ridge Christian Church, located at 2663 Johnson Ferry Road. And then the next one will be March 7th at 7 o'clock, also at East Cobb Library, located in the Park Air Shopping Center. And finally, I want to read a letter from one of the citizens in District 2 about our DOT staff. It says, I am Dave Hornberger, a resident of Chad's Lake neighborhood. Since you probably receive more complaints than compliments, I want to take time to commend the county's repair crews for the recent work in fixing a water main leak in my cul-de-sac. This wasn't your average water line repair job. This involved the neighborhood's water main, which runs adjacent to buried power cables, both of which run under our front yards. To make a long story short, it took many crews, many deliberating for several weeks to pinpoint and resolve the problem, and to do so without destroying our yards, roadway, or power cables in the process. The various crews I saw working seemed to know what they were doing, and the workers I interacted with were friendly and responsive. But what impressed me in particular was their approach to the task, which was to get the job done while causing the least amount of collateral damage and minimizing inconvenience to residents. They even power washed the entire cul-de-sac after completing the repair. That was a nice finishing touch I wasn't expecting. This was a minor issue in the big scheme of things, but I think it reflects well what well-run governments look like. So thank you for Stephen Cullors and your folks, and I'll give you a copy of this. That's all I have.
Commissioner Ott, Commissioner Burrow?
Thank you. First of all, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. This Thursday, as I mentioned before, at 7 o'clock at Palmer Middle School, the Bells Ferry Civic Association and surrounding neighborhoods will be hosting a community public safety meeting with, we'll be addressing public safety issues, code enforcement, DOT, and I will be there as well, and representatives from the different departments to answer questions and any issues, traffic, whatever issues that they have. Also, you can get more information if you visit their website, bellsferrycivic.org. There's some flyers in the back at the back table that have all the dates, times, and locations for our park master plan open public meeting. We ask that you drop in and talk to the representatives from parks and the consultants and give us your input. And there are two in District 3, one at the Cobb Civic Center, Marietta Parkway, Wednesday, February 22nd from 11 to 1 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Thursday, February 23rd from 6 to 7:30 at the East Cobb Senior Center on Sandy Plains Road. And then also March 7th, DOT and Commissioner Ott and I are hosting a public information open house for 3 projects in our district. And the first one is Sandy Plains at Davis Road at the new Mountain View Elementary School for intersection improvements for that area with the new school, which will open in August of this year. The other 2 projects, the next one is at Old Canton Road in Holly Springs, and Post Oak Tritt and Hembry Road. So we ask that you come out and look at the improvements that will be made and give us your input. Thank you. It's from 5 to 7 on March 7th at the Mountain View Community Center. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow. Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you, sir. I too wanted to thank, or mention it's Valentine's Day, so those of you who haven't purchased anything, you better hurry up and do that. Remind everyone that we do, all of us publish a newsletter every week, and if you would like to know what's going on in your district, please sign up for that. In my particular one, we have construction projects, upcoming zonings and things of that nature. And we also have a feature called Zoning 101. There's a lot of misconceptions about what zoning is and how it works. So hopefully that'll clear it up. And I'd like to thank Community Development for supplying me some of that information, but it's a good way to figure out what it is and what the process is. Many things have come up regarding roadway maintenance and litter and things of that in the county. And I assure you that the commissioners are actively working on trying to increase that type of staff. Mr. Cupid and Commissioner Burrell and all of us have been working on trying to get additional roadway maintenance, which includes that. But please let us know when you see something so we can get on it. It's a large county and it's hard to find and be everywhere, even with the staff that we have. So keep us informed, and I promise you that your commissioner will get something done for that. Regards to the parks bond, we're all working on that, and we have our properties pretty much finalized. We're working on the final list, and hopefully through the chairman's timeline, we'll have that done in March. But to that end, property owner does have the right to sell their property and to use it, and we can try as best we can to say we'd like it for a park, but if they proceed to go ahead, that's their rights. And I can assure you that any of those that were on the list, we're actively working toward trying to secure those if possible before they're rezoned. But I also would like to point out that this county has a lot of parks. It has a lot of recreation areas, and some of the numbers that are thrown about are only taking in part of that. But if you count the national parks, the cities, the recreation areas that we have a lot of opportunities, and we always can use more. And it's good to have those located where the people live, and that's what we're trying to do. At least my selections this year in the parks bond is to put the parks within areas of where the concentration of neighborhoods are. So I can assure you we're all actively working on that as well. And I would also add that I'm very proud of our employees, as the chairman said, what they do on a day-to-day basis. Many of you don't realize it just happens, and you think it happens by magic, but it's the hard work and dedication of our employees that have done that for many years. And, something was said today in the paper about they get their raise and they've gotten their raise. Well, what they didn't mention is for about 6 years, they didn't get anything. And so we're slowly trying to catch up of what they sacrificed through the rough times. And I think it's only fair that we reward them for that and try to continue to catch up with that. And in Commissioner Ott's comment, I have always suspected the danger of working out, and just want to assure you that that will not happen to me. So, so thank you very much.
Commissioner Weatherford. Commissioner Cupid.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I just want to say that it is with extreme pleasure that I, as Cupid, have the ability to wish you a very happy Valentine's Day. I have been so woefully unprepared that my children's Valentines are sitting with me and not with them at school today. So I'm going to indulge you by wishing you to have big fun today, Valentine, from an Avenger superhero. Poor kids. Hopefully they'll still be let into the Valentine's Day dance.
Good try.
But I'm Though I'm not as prepared as I want to be as Cupid, I can't share just how grateful and full my heart is as a commissioner that we have followed through with the pay and compensation study. And just know that this is a part of a bigger effort to ensure that we are valuing our employees here throughout the county. And I'm so glad of all the steps that we're taking to address our employees and the service of our communities, not just today, but in the future. I do want to share that there will be a South Cobb Career Expo on Wednesday, February 22nd. That's next week, done in partnership with WorkSource Cobb, which was formerly known as, can't even remember what they were formerly known as. Thank you, Cobb Works. They've changed their name. The Career Expo is going to be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the South Cobb Recreation Center. And that's located off of Riverside Parkway, formerly known as Six Flags Drive. I would like to thank staff and the community for coming out to our State of the District address at Austell Presbyterian Village. You know, sometimes when you put these things out there, you never know what you're going to get. And I was so pleased to see how many of you actually came and supported, and how many of our community came out. And the thing I liked even most was seeing how people interacted with each other, and how much we are becoming a stronger community each and every day and each and every time that we come together, and pray for good things to continue to occur throughout the district. Finally, want to share that February is not just the month of Cupid, but also Black History Month, and that our public services, particularly our Cobb County libraries, have a variety of free events open to the public regarding Black History Month. And I'm always learning something every time we have these events, and I believe that the South Cobb Library will be having an event coming up this Saturday, in that there's an African Americans not only invented the traffic light, but potato chips. Who knew that? So who knew? You know, ability to learn something every month. The chip part. Now that you're good. That I don't know. And in fact, I was going to end there, but I want to say, in contradiction to a couple of our commissioners, that I have learned to enjoy exercise by participating in yesterday's Police Athletic League track practice over at the 6th Grade Academy of Lindley. My 6-year-old son is participating, and I didn't get a chance to exercise yesterday, so I decided to join the youth in their track practice. And there is a reason why they are going to nationals every year, because they get worked out. So just want to thank our police officers for your dedication in volunteering with our youth in our community. And your work shows through not only the joy that the kids have, but through how they're performing.
Commissioner Cupid? Well, now you know why the commissioners keep insisting that I go down to the treadmill every day. All I want you to know is that this is not how I plan my retirement, but I cannot imagine myself being in a place I'm enjoying more. I cannot express to all of you how much I've enjoyed working with this board and with the staff. There's just some things that, you know, the unanticipated pleasures in life. And I've been saying this message now, and I'm going to repeat it until I can't. This board works hard for this county. I would ask you, if you're not signed up for their newsletter, and I read every one of their newsletters, because I find out things about this county that I should be attending and then load on my calendar, but get their newsletter. It's great stuff. I do a video every week, about 5 minutes, to highlight things that I think are important. But my job, you know, again, is to lead the meetings and to write the budget. And we're right where we should be, but we still have a lot to do. We're not a complacent board, we're a hardworking board, and we know that every day we work for you. And I think that as long as you continue to provide us with the input of how we can do things better, we will continue to make this not only a great county, but even greater county. So with that, I adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.